All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of MovieByte. Tonight's movie, it's one that we all treasure in our hearts. We've seen it so many times, and it just keeps growing on and on with generation. The tagline for this movie goes like this: "Take off for an adventure beyond the imagination." What do you think about that one?
To infinity and beyond.
To infinity and beyond. All right, ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your seats because MovieByte podcast starts right now. All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to our live episode on a special night, Thursday. Tonight's movie. Before we begin with tonight's movie, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Ruben, your host for tonight's episode, and with me, my brother-in-arms, the Russian. How you doing today, bro?
I'm fantastic. I'm excited to talk about this one. I had my doubts when you picked it in the category where you had such a variety of the different. I don't know, do we call them movies? Do we call them cartoons, animated?
I believe I can call it a movie if it's longer than an hour.
All right, so animated movie. Toy Story. We're talking about Toy Story. And why did you pick it? Since it was your pick, how about you give us a little bit in depth?
Toy Story did so much when it came out in 1995 that it changed the way animated movies can be done. It was the pioneer. It was ahead of its time, and we'll go deeper into it. But something that Disney, not really Disney, Pixar pulled off. And now it just has opened the ways to how animated movies are now made. The fact that now you have a big animated movie, you have A-list actors voicing these characters, and this is greatly due to what Disney believed to create these movies in the early 90s, that they were one of the first people to actually cast A-list actors who voice these characters. It started with Aladdin in 1992 when they cast Robin Williams to voice Genie. He was one of the first A-list actors to ever lend his voice to an animated feature, because before then, they only would get voice actors or very popular actors that were known for just their voices, not very presence. And that was how animated films were done in the past. Because then, to have an A-list actor be part of an animated movie, it meant that you had to increase your budget because you had to pay that actor. So that's why it just opened the doors for many things. So before we go into deeper into the movie, a little bit of fun facts about Toy Story, about when it was released. This movie went into production about around 1992 for a release of 1995. Animated movies tend to have very large, long production, given the animation behind it. And this one, being its first computer animated film, took a little long. So the fact that it started production around 1992 to be released in November 22nd of 1995, right into Thanksgiving weekend. Perfect time to release an animated movie. You have kids and family out of Thanksgiving break. It went on to open number one, the box office that weekend, beating Apollo 13. Under a $30 million budget, it grossed a total of $373 million, becoming the number one highest grossing film in 1995, beating Apollo 13, Batman Forever, and other great blockbusters movies that were released in 1995. So it proved to be a big hit for Disney and Pixar, something that a lot of the people involved in the movie did not expect to happen, because they were just gambling at this point by creating a first CGI film for theaters and for an audience, and computers in the early 90s, if you owned a computer, you were probably rich at that point. No, it wasn't a necessity like it is nowadays. Like, you had a computer at your house, that means that, oh, your parents made money, or you must have a very important job if you had a computer in your house. And to have this type of animation, just, it was beyond this world. So let's go into the movie itself, and I got to pull up the notes right here.
Well, to me, I think like nowadays it's an industry standard to have like 5, maybe even 10 like big animated movies come out throughout the year. Either it's going to be on the streaming services, or is it going to be in the movie theaters? Well, nowadays movie theaters is kind of tricky business, but you rarely see the other kind of animation nowadays. Back 1995, as you mentioned, like you everything was hand drawn, or
Yeah.
very very little computer animations were used in creating animated
Yeah,
movies, cartoons. But nowadays, like you can't get away from it. So it's this movie completely revolutionized how cartoons are made. Like
exactly.
majority of the stuff afterwards, the follow through. Like I remember, it was so many different types of like 3D. I call them 3D animations.
Yeah,
CGI animations everywhere. Like you take Nickelodeon, you take any kind of content which produced for kids. It was all about doing this style of cartoons. So like what Pixar did with Disney, like I mean, it just like you said, nobody expected it to change the industry forever and for better. I mean, like some of the series that now like we can touch up on a little bit, like Love, Death, and Robots. Like
hmm
it's different styles of animation, but still the best looking ones are those CGI animations. Like
yeah.
I mean, to me, the Spirited Final Fantasy Spirited Away. I think
Spirits
that's
Within. Yeah,
Spirits Within. Sorry, it's thank you. You see,
yeah.
that's why I need you. You
As I got you. I got
you
you.
might movie autocorrect like you just yeah, Spirit Within. I think like when I first watched it, and it just blew my mind how close to the realistic world you can get with 3D animations. And there's few other like hidden gems on Netflix, or maybe you can make them in the comments below. Like I would
Yeah,
recommend people watching to check them out, because it's that style is just so unique, and
yeah.
every studio and every director they use it to their own creative benefits.
And you
Um,
bring along. I mean, you mentioned Final Fantasy Spirits Within, and I believe that movie was released
Ahead of
ahead of
its,
its time.
I
Like,
mean,
this movie, like that movie in particular, was released in 2001, and
it stands today. Like if you watch that movie today, it still withstands all the technological.
it looks great, and it's getting remastered in 4K. It's about to get released in 4K, and it's
Oh,
got to look amazing. And the fact that that movie did so bad in the box office, it's
it's a
mind
shame.
blowing.
It's a shame, but it
Uh,
has a very complicated like story.
Yeah, and I think
Not for the kids.
the fact that they put Final Fantasy on it, I think the people thought they were watching something similar to the video game,
Yeah, which has nothing to do
which
with
it
it.
has nothing to do. And I think that's what hurt the movie.
Yeah.
Um, but back to Toy Story, this movie was directed by John Lasseter, who pretty much went on after this movie to be like the household name, anything with Pixar's name on it. Unfortunately, recently, he had to step down from his role because he is in the middle of like multiple accusations for sexual harassment. So he had to step down from his position at Disney slash Pixar. It was a pretty high position. He's kind of like he was like almost like a CEO, and because of everything that he has done for Pixar, and like he wrote this movie. He co-wrote it with a lot of big names, and we'll go into the screenplay soon. But back to the director, the fact that John Lasseter, he came up with this idea about toys, like what happens with toys when a kid leaves the room. Listen, I
Dude,
went to see this movie in 1995 in theaters, and I came
scared the
out.
shit out of me.
I got out of theaters thinking like do my toys really go into life when I'm not around? Like I had that thought.
Right.
And as a kid, you think about that kind of stuff. Like, do my toys really do stuff like that when I'm not
Right.
around?
Is Santa real? Like, do toys come to life? I
And
mean,
the fact that like, and the way that that story still touches younger, newer generation. Like this, we're talking about a franchise that has spawned 4 movies, a bunch of shorts, and its own theme park in Disney World, and multiple products. You know, like whole franchise of toys, right? Like I never thought in a million world that my son will be watching Toy Story when I watch any of those movies. You know, it never crosses my mind. And now as an adult, you're like, wow, like I can't believe it's been 26 years since the first Toy Story came out, and now I have a 2-year-old who knows who Woody is, who knows who Buzz is, and it's just mind blowing. And this is the Disney effect. Period. But what makes Toy Story unique? You know, and this is where we go into the acting and the cast. Okay. Toy Story is unique because, like I mentioned before, you had a bunch of well-known actors voicing the main characters. Okay, and we're talking about Tom Hanks voicing Woody, Tim Allen voicing Buzz Lightyear, and we had Don Rickles, okay, a very famous comedian, voicing Mr. Potato Head. We had Jim Varney voicing Slinky, Wallace Shawn voicing Rex, and John Ratzenberg voicing Ham. All of these actors were already known for either TV or from sitcom shows. Okay, so their voices are unique. The fact that you have Tom Hanks voicing Woody during the prime of his career. Okay, Tom Hanks, when this movie was released, he already was a 2-time Academy Award winning actor. When this movie was released, he had another movie already that same year dominating the box office with Apollo 13. And the fact that he recorded his voice for Woody while he was filming A League of Their Own and Sleepless in Seattle in 1992. Because he didn't want to do the voice of Woody while he was in character for Philadelphia and Forrest Gump. Because it would have, he said in the interview, he said that would have changed the mood very drastically for his character, right? And then you have Tim Allen, who was dominating TV in the 90s with his show Home Improvement. And the fact that Tim Allen got this role because I think Billy Crystal and Chevy Chase turned down the role of Buzz Lightyear, and he got it. It's mind blowing. It's like to the point that Disney and Pixar were seeking Chevy Chase or Billy Crystal to voice these characters. It's like they knew if we're gonna make this big, we got to make it big. Period. Like let's blow it out. We either take our losses or we win big. So what's your take? Like you saw it recently. What's your
yeah, I
take
watched
on
it
like?
today. I haven't seen it in years. I don't want to even say decades, but it's probably been a very long time since I last seen it. That's why I was very hesitant when you picked the movie. I was like, there's so much more Pixar animations which are like maybe fancier, maybe has a better storyline and look more supreme compared to the animations that they did here.
Mm-hmm.
But watching it, like it's all the doubt about your pick went away. My biggest take about this is how engaged I was, even though I knew the storyline, I knew what was happening. But to me, I was thinking like the creative process they went to come up with this concept, and when they came up with this concept, how well they stuck to the discovering these characters, giving them, you know, giving them the plot lines, getting them engaged into the storytelling. Like they're not just characters there to be supportive. They're not main characters, but each and one of them are so distinct and it is so drawn up to life, and it takes all of them take enough space to be important to the storyline, and it's in you care for them, you understand where they're coming from, you understand their personalities, you understand their choices, right? And to me, like to get this done with the animation, it's mind blowing. Who like the people who created this, everybody who worked on it, they poured their heart and soul into it, and that like you mentioned, 26 years later, it's still noticeable, it's still visible. And actually, like on this go, like there's not a dull moment in the entire movie. Like it's a roller coaster ride where you're laughing, you get scared, like there's some really scary moments. Like I don't know, for kids, till this
I
day,
was
like,
afraid. I was afraid of all the toys that Sid did in the movie.
right, like, and you feel like, so like you're scared of them, but then the story takes you and you're like, oh, these are actually the good guys, like, and it
Mm-hmm.
just, that relief, that's kind of like you're intentionally got scared, and that's what the writers and director wanted you to feel. And that's the thing, like that's roller coaster of emotions that this brings up. It's like, and it's relatable to any generation. You can have, like you mentioned, 2-year-old watching it, or 95-year-old grandma watching it. We all had toys, we all played with them, and the
Mm-hmm.
concept, like that they come to life and have their own world, and how they feel jealous about who is who is the favorite toy, how the hierarchy works, like who is like in charge of the all the other decisions. It's funny, it's sad at times. It just, the concept of it, like I would never in a million years or universes would thought that this would work, but it works. Also, another thing that I think is so distinctive from this particular animation and compared to everybody else is the uniqueness of adult themes. Like this
Mm-hmm.
was the one where you have kids and adults laughing at the same time, but for different reasons.
Yeah.
Like that, like the clever twist that what they created, and that was taken and magnified to the highest of proportions was in Shrek. Like you
I
can
was just
see,
about to say that.
if
Yes.
you see Shrek, like they took that formula and they just like put it under the microscope and they magnified it, and that's probably my favorite adult slash kids like interpretation, where like everybody's laughing for the different reasons. And like
Yeah.
as a kid, when I was laughing at those jokes, like I was like, oh, that's a funny joke, and then you laugh at the same joke. It's exactly same joke, but you
I feel the same
understand,
way.
like your understanding about that joke is completely different. It's like in this one when Wendy, I think, or whatever, like the lady with a sheep,
Bo
whoever.
Peep.
Okay, well, thank you,
Bo
thank
Peep.
you for.
Yeah.
Then she's like, when the bus shows up, and she's like, well, now I know who's gonna be my like whatever transferring partner, or whenever, like
My
the
the moving buddy. Yeah.
moving buddy, like,
Moving buddy. Yeah.
and the voice she says, you're like, oh, okay, I
Yeah.
see what you did there,
Yeah.
but you don't notice it as a kid, like, and like there's few other, of course, out there which everybody can relate to.
It's I 100% agree with you. Like the statement, the fact, like you said, like you watch this movie as a kid, you get the jokes that are intended for kids, and then as an adult, you watch the movie again and you get the indirect jokes or the dirty
Yeah,
jokes. Yeah,
yeah,
and like you said, it's something that it was heavily magnified with Shrek, and Shrek is filled with dirty jokes. No,
I mean,
kids will
it's
watch Trek and they'll laugh at like Donkey and like the little
right,
slapstick comedy. But as
right.
an adult, you watch Shrek movies and you're
Man,
like, oh, they got away with that one.
I know that's like rated R. That movie should be rated R. But the way that,
Especially the second one. I feel like Shrek 2 went above and
bro,
beyond with its jokes. And I
bro,
was like, oh, they slipped. And nowadays, like, you see some of the Pixar movies that Disney has made now, and you see them as an adult, you're like, okay, I see you, Disney. Like
right.
like this movie's for kids, but you want to make sure that parents also have fun while they take their
Yeah,
kids to see this
and
movie.
that's why it made so much money, and that's why the movies, which took that and they understood, they deconstructed what was working for this, and it's like really simple. Yeah, let's. I mean, it's simple in theory, but obviously it's very hard to pull off. Otherwise, we would have like another Shrek, and we haven't. But another thing what created and opened up the door is for the creativity. Like I don't think movies like Wally, Up, Inside Out, like none of the Soul, like none of these movies would have Zootopia like would have existed if it wouldn't be for Toy Story. Not just because how successful it was in groundbreaking animations, but how it gave the creative teams uh,
Yeah.
more leverage or more leeway. Like be whatever you want to do. Like if you have an idea, don't just box it up. Like let's explore it. What can we do with it? Like my all time favorite from Pixar is Wall-E. Like I think that movie is just beyond, and so many movie theories like they try to break it down, and maybe one day we'll talk about it too. But
Yeah.
it's like it was so uh, out of this world, you know, figuratively speaking, and
Yeah.
actually like it was out of this world. But the more I rewatched like Inside Out, the more I'm like this is magnificent. This is also how creative the approach was to get the story like that made, and where it makes sense to the kids, but it also asks like these important questions.
Hmm.
And to me, like that's why I I bow to you again, and my head tips off for picking up Toy Story, is because yeah, like this movie, it's changed so
It
many things.
changed animation completely.
It
Yes.
changed, and for so many different reasons. Yeah, like the A star actors voicing like the new ideas and new concepts how to create the animation.
Yeah. You know what's
All
funny?
the
So Steve Jobs was involved in this film because when Toy Story goes into production, at that time Steve Jobs was owned Pixar Animation Studios. And when he got into this project, he was so close. He was afraid of it being a disaster that he was already in his mindset like I'm gonna sell Pixar because this is gonna this is gonna be a loss for me, and the only way I can recuperate is selling Pixar. So I remember like there's an interview that him and John Lasseter are like, well, if this movie breaks 70 million, we'll make money. If it breaks 100, we'll make really good money. And if this movie crosses 200 million, then we're in really really good shape. And eventually, 300+ million in the box office, and this turned out to be like one of the biggest box offices in 1995. It paid off for Pixar. Pretty much, Steve Jobs ran Pixar from 1980 something till 2006 when he sold it eventually to Disney. But before
originally
then,
Pixar was part of the Lucasfilms, right? That's where
originally, yes, Pixar was part of Lucasfilm. George Lucas had to sell it because of Howard the Duck being a box office failure. He had to get the money somewhere, so he sold it to Steve Jobs.
and then Steve Jobs sold it to Disney.
And Steve Jobs sold it to Disney eventually. So every movie from until 2006 that was Disney Pixar, it was mostly a Pixar movie that was distributed by Disney. And then afterwards, it's a Disney slash Pixar. So it's their sister companies now. But like, you know what's funny? I was reading into Toy Story. Originally, Disney wanted Toy Story to be a musical because that was the Disney formula in the 1990s. You know, every movie that came out for Disney in 1990 was a musical. You have Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King. There was always a musical number. They push really hard for Toy Story to be a musical film, for which John Lasseter and Pixar said like, no, that's not the vision I have for my story. And again, this is another reason why I picked Toy Story, because it's a mold. If you see Disney Pixar movies, a lot of them are not musicals. They're just a story. And if there's music, it's not really a piece where characters just break into a sing and dance, right?
Except for Frozen.
But Frozen's not a Pixar movie. That's the
Oh, it's
thing.
not?
No,
Really?
Frozen's not a Pixar movie. It's a Walt Disney Animation Studio movie. So that's what makes Pixar movies different from Disney movies.
Because I hate Frozen.
So like people may say Coco is a musical. It's like it's not. Like the kid sings in the movie, but it's because it's part of the story. He doesn't break into a song in the middle of a conversation to describe how he's feeling. No,
Yeah.
he sings because it's part of the story. But yeah, if you see every Pixar movie, none of them are musicals, and it's the mold that Toy Story created.
Interesting.
Like I'm trying to think here all the Pixar just to make sure my statement is correct, and I can't think of a single Pixar movie that is a musical.
Nobody watching us anyway. Don't bother. Like nobody gonna fact check you. But
But that's the reason why, and it just gave you the mold that animated movies don't have to have music for you to deliver a story that will hit the heart of the audience.
was that the first one to do that? Was there before?
Toy Story is the first CGI picture, and it's also the first movie that its screenplay was nominated for an Oscar for being an animated film.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. And this screenplay was written by a lot of big names that we all know now. One of them is Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon co-wrote
I
the
guess now we
script
know
for
where
Toy Story.
that joke comes from the he's gonna be my moving partner.
Yeah, so now you can see all the Whedonness.
Yeah, that's a Whedon line, 100%.
The Whedon line, yep.
There was another one about like a sheep, but I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
I just watched it, but so like, again, this is groundbreaking. This is 1995. Afterwards, so many different animated movies came out, and just they got better and better. Like the animations got better.
Oh, yeah.
But till this day, like that storyline, it feels so unique.
It is.
Like the little guys, like I mean, they're just so funny. Everything works, and the adventure that they go on, it just.
And there is so many themes into this story. You know, you obviously have, you know, the one popular thing. You have a cowboy, right? A toy cowboy. You're representing old age, and all of a sudden this new space toy comes out, which is representing the modern era. You know, and you see how a kid prefers to play with the new thing because it's more advanced. It has lights. It flies versus a pull string cowboy, and then it's the old like old age versus new age. You know, like it was a reality that everybody was facing in the 90s. You know, how do you adapt to all this technology that's coming at you? Like, how do you adapt to the internet? How do you adapt to like having a cell phone with you at all times? You know, because you were growing up with landlines. You were growing up that all your information you're getting either on the newspaper or on TV. But now you have a big electronic box that you can connect through a phone line and get all your information in a matter of seconds, right? You have themes about jealousy, you know, because obviously in the story, you know, Woody is experiencing jealousy towards Buzz because Andy prefers to play with Buzz Lightyear versus him, you know, and he goes to great lengths to try to get rid of Buzz. You know, another like dark theme in the story. Like as a kid, you're like
kids,
like
to murder him.
Like Woody's trying to murder Buzz Lightyear. You know?
Right.
He's trying to knock him out the window and like get rid of him.
Which he succeeds, but then regrets.
He does, yeah.
Well, he doesn't really regret. He's been pushed by the society of that of that room to like, oh, we're gonna lynch you too unless you go find Buzz.
Then you have the character of Sid, right, who represents the misunderstood kid, the teenager angst. Like, I'm gonna destroy toys. This is because that's cool. No, and
he's
creates
a scientist. He just makes new stuff.
And yeah,
he takes them apart and puts them together to create something new. I don't
mutants.
I don't see him as this crazy villain from the standpoint of the kid. I mean,
yeah,
we
it's
all
just
got
a teenager.
Glass,
he's probably like a teenager.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, we all got magnified glass, went to the woods and set ants on fire, right?
Yeah, we did.
I mean, I did.
Yeah, I did. I mean, we all at some point blew up toys
and ripped the wings off the fly just to see what happens. I mean, like,
what?
Do you know you catch a fly, you rip the wings off her? No,
you did that back in Russia?
When I was a kid, yes.
Okay, all right, Mr. Miyagi.
I'm saying too many things. Blow up frogs with air to see if they float. No. You guys didn't do that?
Yeah, this is getting a dark turn.
This is getting.
Yeah, let's move on. Someone's reminiscence has passed too much.
I'll stop there. The frogs will be the last push. But no.
Do you guys even get? Do you have frogs over there?
We used to until they all.
Until you all blew them up.
I'll throw the elf away. I'm just kidding. I never did any of these things. Fake news. But yeah, so Sid is like the kid who just like takes things apart and puts them together in a different order. I mean, nothing wrong with that. And then he sends them to space. I mean, he's like Elon Musk, young Elon Musk.
That is actually pretty accurate.
I mean, yeah. Look, it's like what happened to Sid. He grew up and became.
Well, yeah.
Became a
You know what's
brother.
funny? Like the character of Sid shows up in Toy Story 3. He's
Like you see, I need to rewatch all of them. Like
yeah. I mean, I already got you on the first one. At this point, you should just
Yes.
invest the time and
Yeah.
watch the rest of them.
Well, maybe
Because
I'll
the
wait
story does get better in each one of them. It gets look. I went to see Toy Story 3. It got released in 2010. I saw that movie in theaters twice, and I cried twice.
Aw.
I mean, you grow up with this character. You know, obviously, Toy Story 2 has a different story, but then Toy Story 3, Andy's in college. So I was in college at the same time, so I kind of like grew up with Andy, you know?
Right.
And like the fact that in Toy Story 3, like he gives away his toys to the next child because he's moving on. And you grew up watching all these cartoons like in VHS and theaters, and you're like, oh, like it's a part of me also moved on. And then Toy Story 4 came out. I'm like, yes, I'm back again.
Are they making another one?
No, they said Toy Story 4 is the last one. And whenever you see it, the way it ends, you can clearly say, like, you can clearly see why it's the last one.
I mean, I've seen it. I just don't remember it.
Well, you know, in Toy Story 4, Woody stays behind with Bo Peep.
Spoilers.
Spoiler alert!
Yeah, you gotta say it.
Yeah, I forgot. Woody stays behind with Bo Peep, and he leaves the rest of the gang to go back with Bonnie, the little girl, and he stays behind and lives like his life with Bo Peep.
Oh.
Yeah, because he was not being throughout the movie. He's not being played with. He's kind of like realizing that he is no longer like important to this kid because of who he is, and he can't let go that he's Andy's toy. So at the end, he realizes that it's better for him if he just lives his life with Bo Peep as like a stray, and he lets everybody go. Like, see, yeah, he leaves them all for a girl, pretty much.
Well, I mean that works. I mean,
Yeah.
finally they're gonna be moving buddies.
Yeah, although I have to say, in Toy Story 4, one of my favorite characters is Duke Kaboom, which is voiced by Keanu Reeves.
I mean, Keanu Reeves cannot do wrong. Like in our book, listen, even like we're probably gonna shit on Matrix, whatever the 4 or what is it called nowadays? Matrix
Resurrection. Oh, what's up, Rasheem? The ending
Rasheem.
of 4 got me so distraught. See, Rasheem's also feeling it.
I know. Listen, I mean, I feel you guys, but it's just I'll get on board with Toy Story. I promise. I'm gonna watch them in order.
You know, you got to. Have you got me watching Arcane on Netflix?
Speaking of which,
Okay.
yeah, like that's the new way of animating things, and it's going a little bit back to like older style. Obviously,
Yeah.
they still use computers to generate it, but it's looking more drawn than actually CGI, and like that's what I love about nowadays, that people experiment more. Like they do not.
Oh, yeah.
Like every time that I see something creative, different from everything as a standard nowadays, as a cash grab, like that's what I'm all about. Like I want to see even. Like I watched The Lamb, and I told you like how
Yeah, you told me about that one. Yeah.
stupid that shit was. Like it's just it's dumb as there's no tomorrow. But I'm standing behind that movie by just share of like I need this stuff. Like if we stop making that, then all we're gonna be left with Shang-Chi, Eternals, and all other fucking Marvel garbage, which is being just spoon fed to us as a viewers and expected to like this because this is brought by the studio.
Easy there, Ridley Scott. Okay, easy there. There. You know what Ridley Scott said about Marvel movies and superhero movies? Did you read the news article?
Was it Ridley Scott? Was it Scorsese who said that?
No, Scorsese said something, but recently Ridley Scott said, I think, and I'm misquoting here. I think he says in the interview, he will never direct a superhero movie because they are all the same. They're pretty much what you just said. Like you're being spoon fed the same story, and what saves a movie
Oh, really?
is visual effects.
I mean, he's not wrong
Uh,
to the degree.
he's not wrong, but
But,
like it's the times that we're living
But
in.
like,
you
yeah,
know?
like I remember back in the days where every other week there was like a comedy, which was like, either parody of something or just like straight up trying to like do the fart jokes. And it's like it was a period of time where like, it's like we had these massive. I mean, we had some gems during that period of time, but like. What happened to the comedies? Where the next Superbad? Where the next Hangover? Like where these movies
Yeah,
went to? Like we live in these cycles. Like right now, this is the cycle of superheroes.
it's
And
a
everybody
superhero
wants-
era.
and
It's
everybody
what's-
from.
It's
I mean,
what's making money.
Don't get me
I mean,
wrong.
you.
The new Spider-Man trailer is exciting.
I know. I was actually
Like-
surprised when you told me the other day that you liked it.
I want to watch it because it still pulls those strings. They stopped feeding us and then they were like, what can we pull up? Oh, remember this old cereal you used to love, which no longer sells? Like it's like Szechuan sauce for the Rick. Like it's
Yeah,
like,
bring it back. Yeah,
they're bringing back Szechuan sauce for this integration. But I like again spoilers alert or like. Maybe this is my prediction, as I told you. Like, I believe that Andy Garfield, Spider-Man, gonna show up, and he's gonna save Zendaya, and he's gonna be, "I caught you, girl," some shit like that. Like,
Yeah.
that's gonna be the line. That's where they're going. Because
I mean, I know this is a little bit side topic, but there's a lot of people already like on Reddit, on TikTok, YouTube, like breaking down the trailer, and a lot of people say that in that scene where he's like extending the hand.
Yeah.
That is not Tom Holland's hand because
Yeah.
the suit is different. They're all saying it's Andrew Garfield's hand.
I'm on that.
Yeah. So I saw it the other day and I thought about what you told me and I'm like, you know what? It might be right. No, he's gonna save her, given the fact that he couldn't save Gwen Stacy on his multiverse, on his universe. So yeah.
I'm like, yeah. We've seen it. Anyway, back to
Toy Story. We got a little bit sidetracked there, but yeah, back to Toy Story.
What else? What else?
What about the music? Let's talk about Randy Newman.
Jinx.
You got a friend of me,
bro. The first though, like the songs of perfection. The voice, that deep baritone. I hope I'm saying it right.
Baritone. Yeah.
Like that's it. Just adds its own character to the story. And like you mentioned, I love that it's not a musical. I love it. They just don't burst into the song and sing something. It just comes and complements the whatever setting we're on or whatever is happening on the screen. It just adds an extra layer of perfection. But my most impressed thing that I really, really enjoyed, and I don't know if it's from my echoes from Magnolia high-end speaker training, or it's actually my soundbar finally started working good.
Okay.
But the sound effects in this movie are like out of this world. Like when a truck drives over them, like you feel that tension, you feel the heaviness, like you feel like it's a freaking 18-wheeler and these are little tiny toys and it's all delivered through sound. It's like whoever worked on the designing sound effects for this they need an Oscar, they need a medal, they need to get I'm sure they did, but like this is the movie quality sound in a cartoon, if that makes sense. Like I was more impressed by this soundtrack than I was by Dune. But like, of course, I have a.
Let it go. Let it go. Come on.
All right, I'm doing Frozen, but
it's. But I agree with you with the sound effects. I really like how they the plastic soldiers when they're walking in the hardwood floor.
Right.
Like that's how it would sound if they were actually like walking in like in real life. Like that whole like. And apparently what they did is that they put, I think it was I think it's a board and a nail that the sound effect guy put on, and he just simulated walking that attached to his feet, and that's the clacking sound that we get from the toy soldiers.
I mean, that's something like you would hear like if you walk with a snowboard, I guess. Indoor. I mean, not that I know how to walk with a snowboard either.
But yeah, it's like that Segway thing, yeah.
Right. Those are like, I mean, speaking of those dudes, like they cracked me up. Like I don't know who voicing like the surgeon, the sergeant.
Oh, it's yeah, I got it right here. Arlie Emmy, we all know
Right.
from Full Metal
That's the
Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket
Yeah.
guy. That's like pulling him into this. Like, how magnificent was that? Like, he's this drill sergeant in the Full Metal Jacket, and now he's like the straight up
Straight up toy
toy.
soldier Sarge.
Yeah, and he is that guy. Like, oh my god, it's that scene when they go in to discover the toys. It's magnificent. Like, like who took
That's
the
one of my favorite scenes in the movie when they're
bro?
describing the toys.
Bro, it's like and how they drop the pig or whoever drops the mic or dinosaur.
The Rex, yeah, he's shaking. He's like,
Rex.
tell me.
Oh my god! Like it's just fucking hilarious. Like that scene and the scene when with the little fucking things, the claw. I don't know
The
those
aliens.
aliens. Like, oh my god! Like it's
The
just
claw.
the claw. He was chosen. It's just fucking mindless. They only missing the red hat and anyway.
I see what you did there. I see what you did
He's
there.
been chosen. Um,
uh,
yeah. So nothing
wow.
against that either. Moving forward. Yeah.
So you know what's funny? So Randy Newman composed Toy Story soundtrack, and he also wrote "You Got in Front of Me," which is now like you hear that song and you automatically say Toy Story. It got nominated. So Randy Newman got nominated for Best Original Song and Score. Ironically, he lost both of those categories to Pocahontas, which is also made by Disney.
Dude, I have not like I think I've seen it once when it came out.
I saw Pocahontas in theaters, and I don't remember much of it because I'm not a big fan of it. It's your typical Disney film, but also like the way the story's portrayed. I don't.
Come to think about it, I don't think I ever seen a cartoon in the movie theater.
I grew up going to
Right.
watch
Well,
anything.
I'm sorry, we grew up with no movie theaters and no fucking money. All right.
I know,
I had to blow frogs for entertainment.
exactly.
What
Yeah,
you want from me?
you guys only see 15 minutes of Rocky 4 before the movie's over for you.
That's all. In Soviet Russia, that movie lasts exactly 15 minutes. And,
Yeah, Apollo Creed dies. The end. There's no
yeah,
revenge
that's it.
fight from Rocky. No.
No. Never happened. And the miracle is banned. Okay.
Miracle is banned, which is also a Disney movie.
That movie is banned in Russia.
So if there's one movie out there that he hates, and if he asks him, "Well, what is your least favorite Kurt Russell movie?" He'll say Miracle. Kind of racist. He's talking about Pocahontas.
Oh.
Well, we all know Disney has a dark history. We're not going to go into that.
Yeah, not today.
Not today. It's not this type of podcast.
Yeah, no, not.
We'll leave that to like Joe Rogan or somebody else.
This is Toy Story. I mean, we're talking about kids movie.
What's your favorite moment in the film?
Bro, like
There's so many good ones.
Yeah, it was hard for me to pick the favorite one, but I think I tear up when the bad toys or broken toys like kind of come out and fixed Buzz. Like it was like they're a good thing, that to me just like it installs that I think when I saw it, like I wasn't like really a kid, I was a more teenager, but I mean my statement is we all stay 13 years old in our heads anyway, like we never grow up past 13. So to me it was like just that appreciation of like even if you this ugly and this broken, you still can be good. It's like to me it was something like really impactful. It's like it doesn't matter how you look. If you want to be good and choose to be good, you can be good. And that's the message that this sends, and it's like really deep, and I think it's beautiful. Like like a lot of pretty people, let's just put it that way, like they maybe not always have a good intentions in their heart. So it's not you do not raise yourself and believe like everything which is beautiful is automatically good. And the same here, where everything which is maybe not as good looking as your normal thing or what's perceived as beautiful can still be good in their hearts and their intentions. So to me, that was the moment that I cherished in the beginning, and it's still I till this day, like I feel like I rewatched it and it's just like I didn't have a tear coming my eye, but I felt like that was a really good moment.
Has a movie
Just
ever made you cry? I'm curious to know that.
Gravity. I cry like a little
I
bitch.
can't believe I just asked that question. I should have expected that answer. I should have expected that one.
When she steps that foot on that soil and that music kicks in, like that's
All right. Whatever helps you sleep at night.
and it does. Like I millions of times I play that movie and just fallen asleep.
I mean, me too.
Okay, for the different reasons. All right.
One of my top favorite moments is when they're describing the gifts. You know, that whole operation to see what gifts Andy's is going. Woody, you know, telling Buzz, "You are a toy," you know, and Buzz is like in distant eyes, like, "No, I'm a space ranger." Like, it's just like, let me say this. There's no, like, I don't have a worst least scene or moment in this movie. Like, I enjoy Toy Story to the whole 81 minutes that it lasts.
Yep.
Like, there's nothing wrong with it.
It cracked me up this time. Like No Tomorrow is when Buzz being not kidnapped, but like the Sid's sister takes him and
Mrs. Nesbit.
Bro, like that shit was like fucking like he's like drunk and it's like it's a kid's movie. Like this motherfucker is clearly drunk off his ass and like how he talks. I'm like, and then
I am Mrs. Nesbit.
And then he like sobers up. I'm like, this is how I want to be sobering up. Like next time I'm completely wasted and somebody slaps me across the face, and I'm like, sober, no hangover, like that. Yes, that's my dream job.
I don't think we should ever slap a Russian. I don't think that goes well in history.
Yeah, you should see me in a fight.
You should see the other guy.
No, I get the shit kicked out of me.
When they say, you should see the other guy, you're the other guy.
I am, yeah. And the first guy looks perfect. Anyway.
Any final thoughts around Toy Story?
You know, like I think it was groundbreaking and monumentary, and like I'm glad that I lived in a decade where this was released. And that being said, it's relevant to this day. Like you watch that movie, and the animations maybe you can say like did not aged as well.
Yeah.
But I don't want it to be like remastered like fucking Grand Theft Auto did. You know, fuck it, leave the shit alone. All right.
Yeah. Some things are not meant to be remastered, and Toy Story is one of them.
Yeah, that it's just, and it brings that aesthetic. It brings that nostalgia when it was released. Like I remember first watching it, it was groundbreaking from the spectacle point of view. Like it just felt so realistic, so new. The whole concept, it just was mind blowing. But now, like rewatching it, it's like I see where it started, and I appreciate it for what it is, and I see how the progress took place, and how we have the animations nowadays, which look like it's you can, if you put the still picture from the animation and you put the real picture of reality, you can tell two apart. That's how far the animations went, and it is such a short time, and that's what kind of scary. It's like, you know, that one of those Elon Musk theories where like if we can come up with this in the last 20 years, imagine what we can do in next 100 500 years. And if that's possible, then how can you prove that this is not a simulation?
Metaverse.
You know, like this is the chance of this being simulation is 1 out of, you know, 2 or something, and this being the reality is like 0.00000.
Just like the Matrix.
Which we are looking forward to discuss.
We are. I am, yes.
The fuck that comes out.
December 22nd, Matrix Resurrection comes out, so that week we'll be discussing The Matrix.
I'm scared.
I'm really excited. Matrix is one of my, I have to say, it's one of my top 10 action films that I really enjoy watching.
And for some reason you made me pick it.
Well, you picked it under sci-fi.
Yeah, and you picked Aliens. What else was that?
And we already had this discussion, and you kudos me for picking Aliens, and you knew, I gave you my reasons.
Don't. Yes, I mean, I'm not going that route. I'm just saying that, like, if it.
Well, somebody had to.
Somebody had to. But
by the way, just to starters, I think you, whenever we discuss sci-fi, you were the first one that said Matrix. You didn't even give it any thought.
No,
I had to give some thought to my movie because you pretty much grabbed one of the best sci-fi films there is right now, like from the start.
one of the best sci-fi movie.
One of them.
All right, we're gonna bring the special guest. For
We're gonna bring our special guest. So.
Yeah, so we'll see. Because sometimes we need a third wheel to side with you, because nobody ever sides with me on this podcast.
I mean, that's why we created this.
Sure, bash the Russian.
Yeah. Hashtag bash the Russian.
Bash the Russian. Hashtag no fucking miracle.
Hashtag no miracle. I can't believe you still had that on the Hulu account.
Whoa, we said our relationship is over as soon as you fucking watch Miracle on my end of Hulu, which is kind of still your account. That's gonna be the end. You don't have to say anything. You just play that movie, and I know everything.
Hey, for anybody that's watching or listening, like if you ever hear like us like break up or we like stop doing this podcast, most likely I played Miracle on his profile, and maybe I did it on purpose or by accident, and that's how it ended.
It's ending anyway. We do not take accidents or incidents in Mother Russia, right?
There is no accidents in Russia.
No, never.
So final thoughts for me, Toy Story. It was the mold. It pioneered so many things. The way that we see animation films nowadays, like you mentioned earlier, like nowadays it's like every year you need to have like one big animation film, and this is what Pixar has done. Every year they have an animated film out. This year we had Luca, which is also a really awesome, pretty good movie. I've seen it multiple times. I really enjoy it. And they got a lot of projects coming up. By the way, like now that we're talking about Toy Story, Pixar next year is coming out with Lightyear with Chris Evans. And it's basically
related to Buzz Lightyear, or is it?
So this is the story of it. So Pixar's Lightyear is actually the story of the astronaut that inspired the toy Buzz Lightyear. Okay, so that's how they're describing this movie, and Chris Evans is voicing the astronaut with the last name Lightyear. It's kind of like this is what inspired this toy company to create the toy Buzz Lightyear. So that, and then like I said, so Pixar has an animated movie every year now. It's like they created this mold, this formula. It works for them. It pays off. Like you attach big name stars to a movie. Like who the hell is not gonna go watch an animated movie where Chris Evans is voicing the main character? Right? Everybody. No, he's one of the top stars. He's Captain America.
Right.
Right. And the fact that this movie was brought from a company that Steve Jobs ran, and we all know the history of Steve Jobs. We all own a product in our hands by him. Okay, my laptop, my iPad, my phone, like it's all Apple now. No, we all have something created by Steve Jobs.
They're gonna make electric cars according to
electric cars like
from today.
Steve Jobs, no, rest in peace. Gone too soon. Created this. He gave us Toy Story with the mind of John Lasseter, and the rest is history. I mean, if you haven't seen Toy Story by now, I don't know what world you're living in. Check it out. It's on Disney Plus. All of the Toy Story films are.
Before we go, I do have one question for you.
Yeah.
And there's multiple theories proving and disproving this fact. Okay, if you want to go afterwards and check them out, be my guest. I don't know if you heard about this theory or not, but there's a theory that all Pixar movies or their animated projects are set in the same universe.
Yeah, I've read about that.
Do you agree with that, or do you not?
The way that a lot of people describe it, I have to agree with it.
I'm on the same train. I mean, I love me a good conspiracy theory.
Yeah. And the fact that they reference a lot of their characters in all their movies just adds on to it. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I do believe that Pixar movies are all set in the same universe.
I mean, it just makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a video on YouTube where people dive in and kind of like explain all of it.
Yeah, people have too many free times on their hand.
I mean, nowadays, yeah.
Look at us. We're doing a podcast on YouTube. They got too much free time on our hands.
Bro, like, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Rashima agrees with our conspiracy theory as well.
There you go.
With the Pixar theory. Yeah.
Three for three.
3 for 3. Anybody else that agrees with us, just let us know in our comment section. And we'll follow up on that. We'll keep tally on it.
Yeah.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, before we close our podcast tonight, don't forget that our latest episode from last week is available on our YouTube channel and Facebook, The Blind Side. Also, it's available on the Instagram page now that we can post our videos on Instagram, finally. So check out our take on The Blind Side. The Russian picked this movie under his sports category. It's an amazing film, and I really had fun talking about it. So check that one out. And then next week, we are talking about 90s action film that you picked. And that one is?
We're going to be talking about Al Pacino, Val Kilmer, Robert De Niro, and the ton of great actors whose names you're going to recognize when we talk about them. It's the
movie that inspired the opening scene of The Dark Knight.
And that too.
Yeah.
Directed by one of the greats, Michael Mann.
Mann.
I think this is his best work. I think this movie is just superb reflection of the greatness of action movies in the 90s, and it stands there to my heart. It stands there with The Rock. It stands there with the Speed, which we already talked on this season. But yeah,
the 90s gave us so many good action flicks. It's just hard to just
that
pick
was
two.
the action decade. It was the time of the.
Yeah, we need to revisit that category eventually. And
absolutely.
Pick another. Yeah.
But I'm sure back in the days that people complained about too many actions in the 90s, and now we complain about Marvel movies. Well, I complain about Marvel movies. But...
Yeah, you complain about Marvel movies.
All right,
ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in for tonight's episode where we discuss Toy Story. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Find us on your favorite podcasting app. Look us up, MovieByte Podcast. We're also on Twitch, Instagram, and Facebook. Hit that subscribe button, get that bell so you can get notifications on whenever we go live. Like, comment, tell us what we're doing right, tell us what we're doing wrong. We take all sorts of feedback. We'll take it whether we like it or not. We'll listen to it. Again, thank you all for tuning in. My name is Ruben, and with me, the Russian, and we'll see you all next week.